What I have come to learn over the years is people used to think, and maybe a lot of people still think, and I did at one point, that you get discovered and then you make it. So that used to happen in the 40s because there were maybe 25 actresses to choose from. Now there are 5 gajillion, and you can't possibly just hardly ever just get discovered. For what I'm doing is trying to build, and that's where the patience and persistence comes in. So everything is, it's just kind of like this, and people think it's like this. Thank you for having me.
Cheerio. I was with my wife. We're on our anniversary date, and we were at Tavern on the Green, and I saw you guys. The kind of music that you sing is so cool and rare, and I don't hear it, you know, when I do hear it, I'm mesmerized by it. Even when we go to jazz clubs looking for it, you kind of don't get exactly what you're interested in. It's just so fun to be a part of. So what's your kind of background, history, and why aren't you famous?
Well, why aren't I famous? I specialize in like the classic music, mostly focused on the 40s. And I like to have a more international flair to it. It gives us a lot more repertoire that we can play with. I speak 4 languages and I sing in 7, so I'm always working on more, so it like gives us a lot more rep to pull from. But this is always kind of the music that I was drawn to. It's so classic, and I grew up listening to it, and it just goes with who I am and my natural voice. So it was kind of a no-brainer.
So you do strictly vocals, right?
Yes.
And you just put these guys together. You go into that place where we were at Tavern on the Green, like I said, we saw you. It seems like it's your show. There's a movie going on. It's the 20s.
Des yeux qui font baisser les miens, un ré qui se perce se mouche. Voilà le portrait sans retouche de l'homme auquel j'appartiens.
And they're just they're just there to lift you up.
Yeah.
And so there's this vibe that you're the band. I don't want to insult your, but I'm just saying there's this. It just feels like a portal. It feels like you're in the Woody Allen movie where he goes.
That's awesome.
It does. It feels like Midnight in Paris. Yeah.
Quand il me prend dans ses bras, il me parle tout bas. Je vois la vie en rose.
So I am Fleur Seule, essentially, and some people call me Fleur, and that's totally cool. Fleur or Allison, I answer to both. And I lead the band, I book the guys and the place, and like I do the front that you see, and I do everything behind the scenes at this stage, which is fine because I can keep an eye on everything that's happening and make sure it's all up to the brand and the standards that I want it to be. It's a little overwhelming, but you know, I do the books and booking and the promotions and social media and the website and the new video shoots and photo shoots and new repertoire and find the arrangers. So it's.
I wanted to ask about this later, but you brought it up. Does a creative person today have to be a business person?
Yes, absolutely. You have to, and this is what I've learned over the years. You have to be able to be an artist and a business person, because there's so many guys and girls who are very talented, but if nobody knows about you, how are you going to get work? If you're the greatest opera singer in New York and no one knows who you are, that's a waste. So this has been a huge learning curve for me as a businesswoman of how to market what the art is. That's at least 50%, if not way more of it. Because you have to, of course, have the talent there, but that's the last piece. That's after you've gone through everything else to finally get to the stage that you can actually do the music part.
And if you love it so much, probably you've got some raw talent, right? Like there's a component. I'm not saying everybody who wants to do it is good. I'm just saying that there's talent is just so. It just seems like it's almost a negligible factor at a certain point because you have it and people like you said if you make yourself undiscoverable or you refuse to work at it at all. You know, like I have a friend who's so funny, and people are always like, "What are you gonna do an improv class? Are you gonna do something?" And she's like, "Whatever is going to happen will happen," and that makes no sense to me at all because
especially not in New York. In New York, there are 5 billion female singers who want to make it and do this, and you have to, like for me, I started out in musical theater and I have a large background in that, but what I realized was there are 50 other blondes who look like me standing in the hallway waiting to audition for the same role. How do I make myself different? How am I different? And how do I market that? You have to know, and I've told my individual musicians this too, because I book like instrumental stuff on the side and things like that. You have to know what is your brand. You are your brand most often in this field. So what is that? Who is that? And how do you present that? That took me a good 4 years or so to truly refine and get ready to present clearly and help people understand. And now they understand that, you know, my brand is very much like classic, high quality, elegant, but fun, good music that goes along with the look, and we want to make you travel back in time. And that little statement took about 4 years to really clarify and get rolling. So
we want to make you travel back in time.
Yeah, and I would say it also takes a lot of patience and persistence. Something that I do not have a lot of patience because I'm a very like, let's get this done type of personality. So that has been something I have to get better at, is like, you have to do as much as you can and then, okay, well, if it's not happening today, then, you know, it will, but not today.
Yeah, do you think that frustration is kind of important though? Like to make you go harder and, you know, faster? Because if you don't want to lose speed, I mean, I think a lot of people are just, I think a lot of creative people, artistic people in particular, are terrible at persistence. You know, I mean, so I think patience is, but if you're an impatient person, and good, fine, go further and harder and be more aggravated. You know, work twice as hard for it.
For me, it fuels me. Like if something's not working, it kind of like stirs in me. Like, I have to find a way to make this work, or So it can kind of give you a little spark. Yeah. And I guess the important thing that I've learned is that will be the way it is. Like, to start making it just to the level that I've been fortunate to do requires massive amounts of persistence, and especially nowadays, following up, answering things in a timely manner, but then following up, because I have clients all the time, oh, sorry I didn't get back to you, or oh, I didn't see your email, or things like that, because they have 5 million emails coming in. It's a very fine line between following up well to make it happen and being a pest. So I try to like make sure I'm just stay in their thoughts, but give them some space to, a lot of times they're like, I'll have people in charge who shouldn't really be in charge. So I'm like, all right, I'll let them get organized and figure it out.
How many nights a week do you sing?
6 or 7.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we've been very lucky.
And you try to stay in New York?
We fortunately are mostly just based here in Manhattan. We travel for events and for like festivals and things like that, but we're usually here in New York. Okay, primarily the rep is like World War II era. So, and this is kind of my philosophy, is sometimes when you're going through hard or bad or crazy stuff, like, that was when they would kind of put it over here and forget about it for 2 hours and have more uplifting, happy, hopeful type music. And just, it wasn't pretending that it's not there, but it's a different way of dealing with life and what's going on, is take a break from it and kind of just lose yourself in this joyful even sorrowful but still joyful and hopeful music that was so much more uplifting. And then you go back to that issue and you have new fresh perspective to deal with it, or you're coming back to it after, kind of getting revived a little bit. To me, it's the way that I cope with life and the challenges, and it's also just, some of it is just such pure joy, and like when you have the swing dancers going at it, and it's like, yeah, this is where I want to be. And although it happened so many decades ago, why can't I bring it back and let other people have that, uninhibited joy and fun? And you'll see people sometimes at tavern, like they're very timid. Oh, what are these? I can't do that. And then, someone grabs them, asks them to dance, and, they're dancing, and that's what people used to do. It was like they weren't afraid to dance in public, and they weren't afraid what they looked like, because everyone was dancing and enjoying themselves. And I think that's an awesome thing, because so many people nowadays are intimidated because they won't look right, and it's like, who cares?
How do we lose that?
I don't know where that started, but I feel like, just for me, and I don't know if this is a thing, but as music changed, it used to be so danceable socially, like even through the 70s and the 80s, and then by the 90s, I don't know what you would dance to the majority of the music. So in terms of social dancing, you would have, like in the 40s, swing and Lindy Hop, and then in the 50s was like sock hop and rock and roll. It's still close to swing. And then you have that evolving through the 60s, the 70s is hustle, disco. We've got the salsa, Latin world catching on. And then I don't really know what the social dance vibes would be. So I think that's kind of where it started to fall off, because it wasn't an obvious, music was like exploding into such different realms. It wasn't an obvious
community thing anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's where it started to get lost, maybe in the 90s and on. And then it became such a distant thought of like, oh, my parents used to do that, I'm not gonna be a weirdo. And so I'm trying to encourage young people to not be intimidated to do it, and not feel like they have to be good at it. It's not, social dancing is not competition dancing. It's fun. Yeah. It's supposed to be fun. It's, all levels, no pressure, no one's judging you, and it's so nice. The other thing I love about the culture of the 40s music scene is you can have a fella you don't even know walk up and ask you to dance. It's completely appropriate, G-rated, like you don't have to feel like, I don't know, I've been to clubs once or twice and I just was like, oh, this is so uncomfortable. I just felt like I had to be on guard. You know what I mean?
Well, what do we lose? Do we lose the music that brought those situations, or do we lose the G-rated fellas?
That's a good question. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. I think that I would like to say that as the music changed, it influenced our behavior, because music is such a powerful social.
It's probably
changer.
The most powerful, right? I mean, music you're powerless when a good song grabs you, right? So.
And you don't even realize it. It gets into your subconscious, which is why I have a real beef with some of the modern lyrics that artists are putting out there for kids and teens and my age group to listen to, because what they don't realize is it's getting into their subconscious, and whether or not they know every word, it's the atmosphere. There's a lot of cruel, mean language or angry language, and that, you hear it on the street, then you hear it in the pharmacy, and then you hear it in the store, and then it becomes an attitude, it becomes a culture. Music affects the whole country, whether or not you believe that or realize it, it does, if you look back.
When you hear stories about the 40s, 50s, 60s, or when you see videos from that time, where you hear like I remember hearing stories from my uncles and great uncles about just they grew up in the Bronx and the Irish Catholic, and there was this culture of everybody just was hanging out all the time and they were laughing all the time and playing, listening to the games on the radio together all the time. And then we would find all these old home movies, even as recently as like watching my brother's christening and my christening. They're just these, little one-off parties, but people are there till like midnight. They're dancing this like long conga line thing. They're doing, there's packed, the dance floor is packed. It looks like a wedding for a christening. Right now, awesome. You have a christening, it's a stop-by thing. It's like people pop in, like I gotta go, thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, so baby, okay.
Yeah, it's it's in and out. And almost all social engagements are like that. Unless you have really good friends, old friends, big parties. So there's obviously exceptions, but by and large, people treat parties now as like a stop-by thing in a culture.
It's like, I have to go.
I gotta go. Yeah,
I know.
What the hell?
It's really sad.
Character losing. We lost characters. Like there would be the guy was a character, or this woman said. That seems to be gone. People are flattening.
Well, I have to say, there are a bunch of characters. If you stop by some of these events that we're still Friday nights at Tavern on the Green, you will see some characters on the dance floor. They have kept it going, and I have been fortunate to just be a viewer, which is amazing. But so in New York, I would say there's a really strong scene that has revived in the last maybe 10 years. And there are pockets in different cities popping up, like in Boston and in Dallas and in some cities in California seem to have strong pockets of that retro revival. There's a great Sock Hop Sundays that happens, I think the second Sunday of the month here, and it's like all the 50s, 60s. That is great character watching. Let me tell you what. It's so fun. There's a saying in jazz where like you've worked so hard to make it look easy, I guess. So it has great effort behind it, but at this stage, like it's not hard in terms of like I'm trying to figure it out. It's like I'm so connected in this music. It's ingrained in my soul that it's gonna come out of me every night, and whether I don't really have a say in that. So I have, if I put the ingredients together to have the right place, the right musicians, and then I plop up there and have the right music, then it just all kind of happens.
Is it painful?
Painful?
Yeah, is there any pain in it?
No. Not physical pain.
No, I don't mean like you're hurting your sides. I mean like when if you're writing something deeply true, okay, it's uncomfortable because you are, really digging and looking in places that you don't want to really, that you don't go to automatically in your mind. And so I'm wondering if there's anything in that about singing, like when Billie Holiday, I'll Be Seeing You. Like there's no way she's just in a good mood singing that. Like there's you're reaching and there's there's emotion and you're pulling up. Like her voice there's aching in it.
So I would say it's a challenge every night to find a new way to connect with it, to make it fresh and not just go through the motions. Yes, that is our challenge as the musicians of how do we do this song that we did last night, and it's not a musical where everything needs to be played exactly the same. I've sung the same song, the same arrangement, the same musicians completely differently the next night, whether it's because of the way I'm feeling it or the atmosphere I'm getting from the audience, which is a huge influence on me.
Yeah, I bet.
So yes, there's a huge challenge every night of how am I interpreting it tonight? Yeah. What am I saying with it tonight?
Yeah.
Like what is the atmosphere? What is my mood and what is their mood, and how is that all kind of going to come out? Yeah,
but you're aware that it looks to the audience like you're in a deep emotional state. And not just you, but really talented singer, right? It comes off that way.
Well, great. That's great. I didn't really notice, but that's great.
You know, really, it doesn't look like. I mean, not always, but like in some songs that are like Peggy Lee, you know, it's like, to me, like when she's singing some of that stuff, it looks really like she's reaching for it. She's reaching to a personal place.
Well, we did a Peggy Lee tribute, and she was singing through her demons, and it's, I mean,
she had an interesting life.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate backstage life, but it's funny. I'll have a song that I've done a zillion times, and then all of a sudden it'll hit you in a new way based on something that's been going on or something that happened, or it comes back to you. It's like, wow, these are why they're classic, because they're always relevant to your life. You know, so that always amazes me, is like I can always find something new within them that pertains to my life or an experience I had recently or something.
Yeah.
The way you look tonight, it's like you could be on a first date, you're on a 50th anniversary. It's like that song is one of my most requested for a reason.
I sing that to my daughter when I put her to bed every night.
There you go.
She loves it.
Yeah.
It's her, and I was like, well, it's a romantic song between, but then you really get into it, and it works. You know,
it can work in
it's
many
so
different
versatile.
ways.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of a lot of this repertoire, is that it's classic because it reaches so many different people in so many different situations, and I think it's amazing. Whether it's that aspect of it or whether it's the languages, like for me, it's all about reaching as many people as possible. So that's just another way to do it.
Is it tough to sustain that level of like obsession and joy, and you know, have this continue to feel like it's a passion when it becomes your life and your work and everything like that?
No. No, I haven't. If anything, it's gotten more. Like my desire to make it happen has only intensified with every challenge. It's like, yeah, well, all right, we gotta figure out how to get one more rung on the ladder, because I'm gonna make it. Damn it.
Well, what does that mean? What does that mean? How do you define that now?
What I have come to learn over the years is people used to think, and maybe a lot of people still think, and I did at one point, that you get discovered and then you make it. So that used to happen in the 40s because there were maybe 25 actresses to choose from. Now there are 5 gajillion, and you can't possibly just hardly ever just get discovered, and you don't want to, as my husband says, just be a flash in the pan, because then that's it. So you have, for what I'm doing is trying to build, and that's where the patience and persistence comes in, building a network of musicians that you can call upon, of clients that want to book you or recommend you to someone who has this next awesome gig with maybe a fantastic guest you didn't expect to meet. It's all about now that building persistently and networking and getting to know people so that you're in the thoughts of the right person who has that opportunity. So everything it's just kind of like this. And people think it's like this. And for most, it's not. Like every once in a while you'll have someone who has like something go viral nowadays, and it kind of shoots them out there. But can they sustain it? Do they have, you know, have they built themselves a mat to catch themselves when it gets, you know, crazy, when you start to see the underbelly of the business? So I feel like I'm in a really great spot because I've been forced to go through and build from ground zero, basically. So I'm not surprised by much anymore. Not jaded, but just not like, oh my God, how am I gonna deal with this? Like I've had so many different things come across now that I feel I'm at least ready to handle it.
You bounce back by taking more action.
Yeah, so it's not so overwhelming, the new challenges or the things you didn't expect to come along with just doing a show or booking a new place or trying to do an album, or the various parts that you have to maintain to keep growing and growing your audience. So you're better prepared each time.
The myth of the moment where some gatekeeper comes up to you and says, now you have a career, You know, I think that that's really washed out in our time.
Well, what are you going to do with it? Like, okay, what is that? What do I do now? So
what can they offer you? It's such a weird time. Obviously, it's slow still, but it's all going toward this thing of a lot of the population being entertained by a lot of the population. It's not the same thing anymore. It's just there was one class that was a really small percentage of the country doing this kind of thing, and everyone else was just at home watching. Now it's everyone's doing something. You know, everyone's doing creative things.
And which is kind of back to what I was saying is like you have to figure out your own brand if this is the industry you're in. So who is that, and what do you have to offer that's different? It's such an oversaturated market now.
Yeah.
So that's a big look at Tony Bennett. Okay. He has one of the most lengthy, awesome careers, and he has just kept it going and changed it up, and like he knows everybody. He's sung with everybody, but
he's killing
it. He built a great foundation. He started out small. He didn't just his first concert. So
Joan Rivers, same thing. She kind of built it through fight for it.
We only know them once they're like up here. But what's important to remember, and I have to remind myself, is that they started down here and they had to do the little. It goes like this and not like this. So it's some days it's harder to remember than others. But then it's like you said, you have to also get used to enjoying the process and saying, this is my everyday. I make a living and pay my rent as a singer, and that's what I always wanted to do.
It's exhilarating. So it's incredible to be able to do your own way.
In New York City.
I know. That's ridiculous. Have you ever had a job that you fucking hated, like a really bad? Okay, so have I. And so when you've had that, when you're not getting called by the red carpet, but you're doing your own thing every day creatively and coming in, we get to come in and make, decide what kind of videos we want to make and figure out what collaborations we're doing. And then I get to write every morning, and then I get to do this cool like I'm in heaven.
Awesome.
It's amazing. And so it's like, to be able to live that way, you're so grateful to be able to live that way. Yeah. And so it's like, everything else is redundant.
I don't need to be, I think there's a difference between being a celebrity and an artist. There's a big difference. So my end game is not like, I want to be at the celebrity of like, I don't know, Kim Kardashian or something.
Okay.
I mean,
just outside your
the money would be
realm of influence. Yeah.
Lovely. But my end game is I want to be at a level of where I'm an artist who can have influence as well. There are a lot of things I want to do. Like if I got to the level where, okay, now we've got things rolling, we've got some awesome shows, I have the ability to invest in some things that I'm passionate about as well. Like something that is huge to me is music education in schools. That's something I would like to be an advocate for, get involved in when I'm at that level. So that's also a goal of mine is, I think it's so important for young kids, like starting in kindergarten, elementary school, to not have to choose between music or sports. Everyone needs to be exposed to music, whether or not you go into it. There's so much scientific research to support that. Just learning it, the discipline of reading and learning and playing music in collaboration, it just does so many things for your development. How do you make them hate it,
though? How do you make them? Because I think the same thing about great literature, but it's very hard I hated it when I was in school because they systematize it in a way that just completely zaps it of its natural pleasure.
That's the challenge to the people who create the curriculums, and they have to, and I guess also a challenge to the teachers too, is to have a way to make it very inviting, accessible, and something that is a joyful time for the kids. It's not like a forced, oh great, type of feeling. So that's the challenge that I would also want to be a part of trying to figure out solutions to. I was a nerd. I looked forward to choir class and all that stuff.
You like the Andrews sisters? It was different.
Yeah.
I mean, is there a head scratching moment when it's like, if I'm at that level of talent and quality, where what is the X factor for me that I'm not able to kick down the next door, or do you not even think that way?
I do think that way. But then I say to myself, well, if it hasn't happened yet, then there's more that I need to do. It's very easy for me because I'm always like looking forward this way. It's very easy for me to neglect all the cool things that we've done, like some of the amazing clients and venues that we've actually played at, and like we just debuted at the Blue Note, which is like a bucket list for me, and we've played at Dizzy's and Jazzling Center, so it's like, wow, we're playing at all the like places I've wanted to play at. So it's like I have to remember that, but sometimes I get a little, all right. So when is this gonna kick it up a notch? You know, I definitely have those moments, and then it's like, okay, well, it's not happening today. Just keep building, keep being patient. Well,
I mean, because I think that that people are interested in this kind of music. It's just that they don't think that they have modern choices, you know, and so it's like they think that it's like, well, yeah, if I wanted to hear that music, I would just find that station on whatever, Spotify or the Sonos, and just play the old jazz stuff, and we'll put it on the background of like cocktail party or something.
It's usually a generational thing.
Yeah.
Because chances are, if you're around 40 and up, you either experienced the music or saw your parents experience it, and you're like, oh, this reminds me. Like so many people tell me, oh my God, this reminds me of my dad. This was his song, you know, and so it's nice. A little bit of nostalgia even for that age range. But then for my generation, which is who we're also trying to bring into this, there's definitely kind of a little like vintage cult scene that's like hardcore. They dress the part, like they go to all the dances, they're so into it, and I love it. And then there's the people who, what? They walk in, they go, what is this? So it's
But those
really,
people, when they let it in, it really works on them.
It's really rewarding to
them.
see when it gets to them.
People, I used to live in D.C. before I lived here, and I would bring people to Blues Alley. I don't know if you've ever been there in Georgetown. And they'd be like, I don't want to be hanging. I don't want to hang out. Look what we're doing. We're supposed to go out. But we for half hour, same thing. And then the guy would start to sing, and everybody they would shut up, and they'd want to hear it because it does make you feel something. Yeah,
and seeing that kind of start to register them, like, I don't know what's going on, but this is really cool. That's the best. And I try to I watch the crowd a lot, and I try to read off of what the vibe is, and if that's happening with the majority, I'm going to pick certain songs. I'm not going to put my most obscure, nerdy 1944 hit that I know about. You know, I'm going to pick some. Okay,
like what? What's an example of that?
Oh gosh, there's so many. Like Delilah Jones.
Okay,
that's,
I don't know it.
The McGuire sisters did a great hit. Well,
I might recognize it if I heard it, but I don't know the song.
That's a random one. It's been a long, long time. 1940. Bing Crosby did it.
Okay.
But that one was more obscure until actually the Avengers put it in the last 5 minutes of their new movie.
Oh, really?
And it made my day.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's I only saw the last 5 minutes. I walked in and my husband I said, I would have loved this movie. He said, no, it's just the last 5 minutes. This isn't the whole movie. I was like, why did you tell me I wouldn't like this?
That's hilarious.
So it was great they put that in there. And that this music has lasted is because the messages of the music are so universal and applicable always at any stage. And it hits you in a new way as you go through different experiences. That's what's so amazing about it. It's kind of like when I studied a lot of Shakespeare in college, and the thing I found fascinating about it was you could read the same scene, the same play a week later that you just read and take it a whole new way. And that's part of his genius, is that you can reinterpret it differently every time. So that's the same with like this classic repertoire. It's classic because of just that. I've written originals that
Do you perform them?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we recorded them. We performed
Are they out
them.
there?
And
Good.
we are on Spotify.
All right.
We have our,
Jazz or
digital
footprint everywhere?
under the band, under Fleur Seule.
What kind of?
It's 40s inspired jazz.
Awesome.
I've gotten some of it licensed into. I had a French bug spray commercial pick up one of the waltzes I wrote.
All right.
And I got some Christmas stuff licensed into some Hallmark movies.
Great.
That I wrote, which is exciting.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna watch and see if they replay them this season. So that's been really cool to go on that side of it. But I want to definitely continue the writing side. I kind of go in waves based on how busy I am. If I'm not as overwhelmed with events, then I have a little more room in my brain to let inspiration hit me. But
what makes you write songs? Do you get the songs and you need to write them, or you just sit there until something comes out?
it just will come to me at the most random times, usually at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Either when I'm in the shower or at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I don't know why. That's always when I have my ideas.
How do they come in?
Usually it's the hook of the song that I'll start hearing it, and I most often end up writing the music and lyrics together of that part at least. That's like the point of the song, and then I work backwards. Okay, why did I write that? Sometimes it's, something I saw or a person who said something funny to me. I'll just keep thinking about it, and it might be in there for a little while, and then it comes out. Like, I never plan, okay, I have to write something, It's hard to sit down and say, okay, I must be inspired. Which writers, I'm sure, can attest to, oh, crap, I need inspiration now.
Well, it's just so different, I think, I think yours is more akin to poetry, and so it seems like, I don't know how you write a poem through command. It just seems like it has to probably grab you.
Yeah.
Right.
I did a project one year where I wrote a poem every day, and that was really hard.
Yeah.
It was hard to force that inspiration. That was just for fun, but I definitely like to just let it come to me whenever the heck it does.
Yeah.
But I would like to write more originals and get back into the acting for sure. What would be incredible is to kind of bring everything full circle, because I'm a dancer, actress, singer, put it all together and make, some MGM remake.
Yeah.
And Peggy Lee did a bit of acting herself.
Yeah, I thought that.
She couldn't really pull it together all the time, but she, was such an interesting person that I'd love to portray her and tell her story.
Well, that acting style that accompanies this kind of music is also, it's a little bit coming back, right? With Mad Men and the types of actresses that are, I don't know, like the transcontinental voice style, right? That seems to be a little bit back in vogue.
And they did that little Pan Am miniseries. I love that.
Yeah. Do you, what would you settle for at the end of all this? What would you be like, all right, that was good enough?
I would never have that thought. It's never good enough.
Okay.
There's always more to do, and there's always a better way to do it, and I will sing until I die.
And so what about if you could just do it, and just, this was where you were going to be, and you were going to be very talented, very, very, well received and reviewed singer around Manhattan? Would you be good? Would the thrill of that life be sustaining enough, or would you be at 2 o'clock in the morning freaking out for the rest of your life?
I'm happy where I am right now, but I don't expect to be at the same place in 10 years. I shouldn't be. So for me, I'm always pushing forward. So if I don't want to, there's a balance between being happy with where you're at and, taking it all in, but you don't want to become static and be doing the same songs in the same places in 10 years. To me, that's just getting stagnant. So not to say that you want to hop around a lot, but it's just you want to keep growing and keep, things will change, and we have a new project. I have a 13-piece salsa band that we do a totally different show. It's all the classic salsa, but that's something that we've been growing, that's keeping in touch with the rise of the huge Latino community that's coming here, that's, you know, taking over the music world. And also my husband is Puerto Rican, so now I have a salsa band. So it was like, oh, one day. All these songs were creeping into my repertoire that he had been requesting. I said, I have enough for a whole separate band. So that happened. And now we're playing. So we, you know, I think it's important to keep up with what's happening, though, and not just stick with the same exact thing. Like, stick to the core of who you are and what you're doing, but you have to kind of evolve. Like, even, like I said about Tony Bennett, like, he's lasted, but he has, you know, grown with the times and reinvented himself all along the way.
I want to say advice, but you're sort of the one thing that you would know for sure that young people who are musically interested in this country at this time, what's the one thing they need to be doing?
There are a couple things, depending. Whatever field you're doing, practice every single day. I'm now at a place where I'm singing between 4 and 10 hours a day, every single day. And now I feel like I'm at my peak in terms of my vocal strength and stamina. But it's not because I'm, you know, just doing a song or two. It's, I do warm-ups, and then I go do a show, and then I do warm-downs and cool-downs, and, you know, it's, so practice. Like, if you're not performing, be practicing and doing new things, and studying other people who are doing what you want to do. Yeah, I would say just keep doing it. Like, that will, I think, be a much bigger part than wondering, oh, how am I ever going to make it? Be practicing in the interim, and you'll start to have things work.
What's your favorite song?
I can't answer.
You got to pick one.
I can't
Gotta
answer
do
that.
one. I'll give you two. I'm going to give you two.
Oh my God. There's so many that I love. Any particular genre I have to narrow it down to?
Yeah, well, all right. We'll say female jazz. Not just jazz. Just give you jazz.
Jazz in general. I mean, this month it's been a long, long time.
Okay.
I love that one. But last month it was Deep Purple, so.
I don't know that.
Helen Forrest did it.
Oh, okay.
When the deep purple falls over sleepy garden walls, and the stars begin to flicker in the sky. It's really pretty.
There's a smile on my face for the whole human race. It's almost like being in love.
How much does the success of the show depend on the quality of the audience?
Doesn't really.
Really? You're just doing it?
I mean, we're going to do it, and we're going to give you 100%, whether there's one person or 100 people, whether they give a crap or whether they don't. We're going to hope that we can reel you in, and usually we can. And a lot of times, even if we think they're not paying attention, like if it's more of a background gig, there's also a difference. If you're a show, like Taverns, like we're the show, we're the feature. A lot of background gigs where like we're the atmosphere, but people are having a conversation, and like they'll tell you at the end of the night, like, oh, like I hope you didn't think we weren't listening. We were really enjoying it. So, you know, I understand that people aren't always going to be like dancing or like sitting there like listening. Like it's great to play in a place like that, like Birdland. We're going to be at Birdland next Tuesday.
Oh, awesome.
And that is a listening room. People
Yeah.
are there to hear and to like absorb the show. That's a totally different vibe than, you know, we play at the Knickerbocker Hotel in Times Square, and it's like we are the ambiance, and people are usually with coworkers having a drink and they're chatting, and that's totally cool.
To me, I would imagine, I have no idea, I don't perform, but I would imagine that when you see somebody making a connection with your music, that's the moment of great reward.
That's the best. That's what we do it for. It's not for us, really. I mean, this is what I love to do, but the purpose behind it is reaching people and helping them connect, and usually finding like a gentler side, like kind of letting that like 2019 New York, like we all kind of walk around like this internally, at least some people physically, but helping people to kind of let that down and just kind of melt into the music. That's an amazing thing to see, especially for New Yorkers because we're so uptight.
That's true. The night we're at a tavern, it's, to say it's romantic is such an understatement.
We want you to feel magical, and it's like you're in the middle of Central Park and you have the perfect song playing and you're there with, a date or your family or whatever, and we're just trying to create an awesome experience for you.
That's awesome.